I've got 1 month to get into the best shape of my life. My name's Aaron and this is my fitness journey into the RAF. Now I've applied for a technician role which has got slightly less difficult entry requirements, however they're still pretty demanding, so here they are. Now I'm fairly confident I could hit that with my current ability, but it's not really about that. I want to get into the best shape I possibly can before getting into the RAF so I can make sure I'm effective in every circumstance. Now, these are the goals and targets that I want to aim for. So you'll notice they're a lot more difficult and a lot higher standard than what the RAF require for me. In comparison to what I'm currently working at now, it's a relatively large jump, but I want to see what I can push myself to achieve. Now, these are my current running and fitness stats. They are all right, but not great. Reason for that is because I've had lots and lots of exams. So I've taken a break from the sort of fitness side of my life. So it has all come back down, but I'm slowly working on building it back up again. In the past, I've been an avid swimmer, mountain biker and road biker. So the aerobic engine is definitely still there, but it's just working to build that back up now. Okay, so you can sort of see here what my training sort of looked like this year. It started out around the end of April and worked its way up to sort of peak here in May where I was doing the most, and you can see here where my exams started and what I'm back up to now. So if we jump right to the first sort of runs which I did. This was the first run I did. I started off with an attempted 5k, didn't quite make it all the way because I wasn't in the shape that I needed to be in. So yeah, the pace was 6:33, which isn't as fast as I'd like it. Now, I need around a 5:30 pace for the 2.5k or the 1.5 mile. I want to have that closer to a 5-minute kilometer. And you can see here, this is where I started building up my training and really working it through. That's again 2.75 kilometers, 2.75 kilometers. I'm getting more consistent, keeping my pace. Ran this one faster. This was shorter distance, but still relatively fast. And then I've had good days and bad days where I've sometimes been able to do a really good run, like this 1 mile PB that I hit. Was a, I think, 6-minute 50 mile. And some slightly worse days, as in 7-minute 30 pace. So it's been quite varied, and I have sort of started to follow a sort of more rigid training plan, where I'm doing every 3 days a bit of a longer distance, so I'm aiming for 3 kilometers every single run, to keep that at around 5:30 pace and just consistently do that, which will hopefully build my fitness, and then cutting down on that time as much as I possibly can. In between all of the running, I'm also doing some strength training, mainly in the legs. So daily I'm just doing a couple of calf raises, some squats. That's the leg orientated stuff, just to build strength for that repeated impact while running. In terms of other strength training I'm doing, every roughly 2 days, I'm sort of going flat out on push-ups, as many as I can do. Oftentimes that's in more than 1 or 2 minutes, but it's around the 50-60 mark where I'm at currently. I'm comfortably sat at around 40 push-ups in a minute, so I'm not too concerned about my upper body strength at the moment. This week I went on 3 runs, and as you can tell, it was really sunny and I really enjoyed running in this weather. Now, running is definitely not one of my favourite activities, but it can feel quite rewarding, especially if you set a personal best. And although I'm disrespecting the weather here in June a little bit, I'm actually quite a big fan of the rain. I think it helps me keep cool while I run. These runs were sort of more gently paced, so I can get back into that rhythm and start pushing myself harder. In terms of my latest run, this is it. So it was 1.5 miles, pretty much bang on, at a 5:50 kilometer pace. So that put me at around 14 minutes and 23 seconds to complete the entire distance. I didn't in any way intend for this to be a sort of difficult run. I did start really slowly with a 6:31 pace, and I ended up
pushing myself right at the end at a pretty much bang on 5-minute pace for the last half a kilometer. The second run, which I did this week, again was quite a gentle pace. I did feel quite comfortable the entire length. This one was close to 3 kilometers, and I ran an average again of a 5:35 per kilometer split, um, with a moving time of 16 minutes and 30 seconds roughly. I started off the week with what essentially was a little bit of a sprint, so I did 500 meters at a relatively fast pace. And that same day, I did do another 1 kilometer in that evening, just to get my body back into that rhythm before I go for a longer distance.
Another thing which I've learned about myself is that I run significantly better when I nasal breathe. So rather than breathing out of my mouth, as you typically would while running, I breathe just through my nose the entire run. What that helps me do is control my pace by controlling my heart rate, so I can't push too far because my oxygen intake is slightly more limited. I think that nasal breathing is going to help me in the long run, just because when I get to that stage where I need to push myself and really test myself, I can mouth breathe and take in a lot more oxygen, and potentially help myself run faster or run further. I'll see you next week.